I'm good when you are.
Well, I'm good because we're live. So this is going to be
Oh, good.
episode 20
Oh boy.
of the Speaker Podcast.
One of these days, maybe 25 or something, we get blood in here. He did say that
That's
he
up to
would
him.
join. Well, that's it. So Blood did say he would come back to the fold when the new season launches because he wants Arc 3.0.
Yeah,
And if it's King's Fall was his favorite raid, so he'll definitely be back for that.
that's
But
fun.
yes, I'm Batsam. This is Legend of Xcalion, podcast 20.
What's up, guys and girls and guardians of all
Oh,
species?
are we doing it like that? Doing it like that?
Exos and Awokens and humans and
Yeah. If we're
Ahamkaras.
doing it like that, it's gonna be like, what's up, gamers? This is Batsam42 coming at you live from the Speaker Podcast number 20. I'm joined by my co-host, Legend of Xcalion, and we're here today to cover the most controversial TWAB this season. Legend, why don't you go ahead and kick us off with what's going on?
That's kind of funny because it is pretty controversial.
Oh, cool.
It is
So
kind
I
of
actually
controversial.
I haven't read any of it. I've been really busy all weekend.
Yeah.
So Legend's gonna kind of walk me through this, and I'm interested to see. I've heard a lot of people complain about it, but
Yep.
I've remained spoiler free for the most part.
I'll open. I'll just say, of course, usually we do it on Saturdays.
Mhm.
We have this afternoon off, so we wanted to take the opportunity, since Sam was away on Saturday, take the opportunity because this is kind of important. So I did want him to be a part of this one. I didn't want it to just be a solo one, just personally.
Right. Yeah.
So, and it's two parts to the TWAB, really. There's not really any like super big information or anything. We read last week, specifically last week, they said that regarding PvP, there's going to be a big announcement next week.
Yes.
So, my big
And
brain,
they also talked about the raid that it was going to be happening this week as well.
yeah,
They will let us know
they said
about
that we would get the raid date. So,
Okay.
yeah, that was then. So, of course, my big brain thinking, Crucible news. That's what I like to hear.
Yeah.
Not really the news I wanted. We'll get into that. The raid news, all it is specifically just the raid date. We still have no idea which of the three it's going to be because everybody keeps talking about Wrath and King's Fall.
Yeah, but it doesn't make sense.
Crota's End is in the mix. It's in contention.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't think Wrath of the Machines is a good pick for them, just because of how much Savathun has been referencing her brother. I really think it's gonna be King's Fall. King's Fall was a much longer raid, and that's it's gonna be a more meaty thing to do.
Right.
If they were cobbling something together, then it might be Crota, but they haven't really been mentioning Crota throughout the entirety of.
Yeah.
They've mentioned him offhand, but they've really been hitting home on Oryx. There's a shrine to Oryx, the Lightfall Strike. She's been talking about him in like the little story bits, so I feel like it might be King's Fall. That's just my personal take on it, but I would love to see Crota come back, and it better have Glowhu, or so help me.
I hear you.
It's gonna be in the angry comment section.
Let me do something real quick just for everybody.
That was my
no
audio not good.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
All right.
I'm just gonna.
Awkward silence.
No. Well, you can riff real quick. I just wanted
That's
to
fine.
actually post a link to the YouTube channel in the Discord real quick.
Okay.
For what's going on.
So while he's doing that, so yeah, this whole week I've been really busy. Just stuff going on family wise. Wasn't able to read the TWAB or be actually a part of Bureau over the weekend. So we thought, still wanted to be a part of this and just pull one out today. I know, we're a little bit late to the party, and a lot of other content creators have already come out with their stuff, but hey, it's okay. Obviously, we have people that come and want to hear us talk about our unique perspective on the game. If you haven't joined our Discord yet, please, by all means, jump on in.
100%.
I've actually been playing a decent amount of Destiny over the last day and a half. It's been a lot of fun. Started pinnacle grinding. I'm actually just about to be GM ready, which, gosh, the season ends in about a month. Or like 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
3 weeks. So I'll probably hopefully be able to knock out some of those GMs. I don't know if I want a horror's least just because, it's whatever. It's another pulse rifle. I do want the hand cannon. The more in-depth weapons just in the mix would be great.
Yeah.
Because it's the two weapons is horror's least and the hand cannon, right? And there's what are the other ones right now?
DFA,
Yeah.
horror's least, silicon neuroma, duty bound, and I
need a silicon neuroma.
believe hothead and plug one still.
So I never got duty bound either.
I never got the adept one. No, I don't. We never.
Yeah, I
well,
didn't
we
get
never.
that one
We
either.
never did GMs last season.
So I'm about to be GM ready, and then I'll have my my playlist open of GM stuff, so we can knock out some easy ones.
That's good. Yeah,
So
I'm glad
that'll
to
be fun.
jump in there and do that. I'll be honest. Just to riff on that for a second, I'm kind of frustrated because the way they set this season up. Do you remember last season? Maybe it was before that, but I felt like it was last season. Pretty sure it was last season. Like they had it to where like at a certain point they had 2 weapons dropping each week. Do you remember that?
Yes, and it was a random chance to get one of them.
One of the 2.
So like you would go into a strike and it would be like, oh, this would be hothead and comedian.
Right.
It's like, okay, well, here's the weapons that are up for this week, and then as you did the GMs, you either got one or you got the other. Sometimes I don't know. I never got both.
So
I got both if it wasn't adapt.
So this season, they're only doing 1 a week. I don't know why they went back to that. That makes no sense why you would revert that change. I don't understand that. But the other thing that frustrates me is both of... Okay, but how about this? Both of the weapons, Horror's Least and DFA, are only dropping once at depth this season, each.
Only once?
Only once. Horror's Least right now, today.
This week.
Today. Yeah. Changes tomorrow, and after that, that's it for the season. We won't get it until next season.
Really?
Really. Because there's only 3 weeks left.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Interesting.
DFA will be next week.
Okay. Yeah. We'll be ready for DFA. That is weird.
It's frustrating.
I wouldn't...
Yeah. I don't know why they did it like that.
So I guess the big thing is it takes out the RNG. Because, I mean, there are definitely some weeks where it's like, oh, I want to run specifically trials to get X weapon or X piece of armor.
I have a fix for that, by the way, but continue.
Oh, yeah. Well, so, like, they offered, like, oh, this is going to be the adapt, like, Shahira's Wrath or whatever. Those things like, oh, this is a guarantee that you're going to get this when you hit your flawless. That's what you're working for this weekend. I liked that about the GMs as well. It's like, okay, well, I really want to get a duty bound. Well, now you plan out the week that the duty bound comes out, make sure you have some time to do it, and then you go ahead and get that. If you have limited time and you're for the weekend, you're like, oh, man, I just really want to get a comedian, and you're not getting it, you're getting a bunch of hotheads. It's like, there's that RNG.
Yeah.
You've been a victim of RNG yourself, because we were talking about this last night. We back in the day when Proving Grounds became the first thing.
Yeah,
and we were running through GMs just back. You want what, 4 rounds of GMs without getting a single adapt weapon?
Without getting it was palindrome that week, and I wanted my Godrow palindrome so I could do my review on it for the YouTube channel.
And Blood and I were getting a bunch of them. So, but like it's that like they're taking out the extra RNG of having multiple weapons drop, and in favor just like you're going to get one on your first run. Yes, I don't like it, but also at the same time maybe implement an in-game not currency, but an in-game like we used to have them back in the day. It was like the trials of like not the trials of that, but the what is that? They were like little cards. It was like something of the 7 or basically you pop this coin.
No, you had
a higher
5 of swords.
Yes, you had a higher chance of getting a certain thing at the end of the run. Well, what if you they gave out like oh you pop this and you're going to get the other weapon?
Yeah. So there's
or you're guaranteed like one or the other.
There's a bunch of ways they could do it. Eventually, what I would like to see them do is, but basically, so what we have with the Drifter right now and with Saint 14 right now, of course, is your engram focusing. Now,
right.
Specifically,
they could do that.
at Saint 14, as you rank up, you get Trials engram specifically. Right. And so as you're ranking up your Vanguard, you get a Vanguard engram, right? So let's say down here, you can focus those into whatever. You can use a regular Umbral engram to focus into any of the regular weapons, and it has to be a Vanguard engram to focus, and you have to have completed the GMs for the season or whatever to be able to focus into those. And they cost a lot. Focusing for the adept weapons, from like once you've gotten
It's expensive.
it's very, very expensive. Yes, very expensive. You're talking, I think it's what is it, 200 legendary shards and a lot of money. It's like 150 glimmer, 150,000 glimmer. Yeah.
And then you had to have gone flawless that weekend.
Yes, you had to. You had to have a current, like you had to have a mercy card or current
right
flawless card.
Yeah, in your pocket.
Completed, I should say.
Well,
yeah.
then I could see them doing where you finish the Grandmaster and it's active for 24 hours or for the day or for the
rest of the week,
for that weekend or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's say a week.
Yeah.
So you run the GM, you don't get the weapon you want, but then you grind up a couple engrams. Then you can come back and be like, okay, well I got this weapon, but I want the other one. Would you have already had to have obtained the other weapon to get it, or is it just like you have a random chance of getting any of the adepts? Would you say just one?
I would say, in order for this to work, to where it's not just like a cheese method for getting this stuff, I believe you have to have had already received the weapon. I think that's the best way to do it.
I like that, but you've also just talked yourself back to the same thing, kind of like, oh, Horror's lease is only going to be around for a week now.
Oh, okay. So so I will say this much. Since that palindrome fiasco that I had, okay, they've already implemented a fix. If you complete a platinum Grandmaster, you get a weapon drop. They've already implemented that. Regardless.
Yeah.
So you'll get it if you complete the GM, regardless.
Right. Yeah.
So you shouldn't have a problem getting it and then being able to focus.
But I guess the to bring it back to the beginning of your question, you said it's frustrating because Horror's lease is only here for 1 week. And they took away the 2 weapon drops. And like, yeah, no, I get the 2 weapon drop thing because you want like the one, not RNG.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Okay.
It's
okay.
That's
I was
fine.
confused then.
No, I'm sorry. No, that's fine. I didn't understand why they went from doing it one way to one season, implementing 2 drops potentially, and then revert it back immediately, because it seemed like we only had that first season. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah. No, I think we only had it for a season, and I think I personally didn't like that just because you grind so hard for something of in-game content. You know, you gotta get your 2 friends together. You gotta plan it out. You gotta actually finish the thing. Like, GMs are no joke.
No.
You know, the 3 of us, me, Ledge, Blood.
You and I
the 3 of us get together.
You and I did do one last season. We did it with one of our old clanmates.
Yes, one of our
did. We did the one on Europa, and got the Silicon Neuroma.
Yes, I don't know if I got mine adapt. I would look.
I'm pretty sure we did it GM.
Regardless,
yeah,
I'm pretty sure we did one as well. But regardless of the fact, no, it takes a long time to get those things done and to plan it out and actually complete it. Even though 3 strong players, you're still bound to make mistakes. There's still changes to the meta every season. So one GM that could have been an easy fix with these 3 supers combined with these guns fall out of the meta, and it switches to the next season, and you're expected to do the same strike. Your strategy is different.
Yeah.
So
100%.
If you work so hard to get that, you don't get the weapon you want, and you have to run it 4 more times to get it to drop, and it's still a terrible roll.
Yeah.
I don't like that. Versus one weapon constantly dropping, constant different rolls. Yeah. Makes it easier to farm.
Yeah, I'm with you there. So, we'll get into this. That's enough GM talk. Excited if we can actually get into it next week. GMs are fun. That's the pinnacle in game content. So
I'm hoping that I'm be ready today.
Yeah.
I have a couple more.
Pinnacles.
I just did the 100K Nightfall just a minute ago.
Nice.
So I think I'm like 3 pins away.
Okay.
I need 2 light level. That's it.
Right.
So.
Right. Okay.
No.
All right. Well, raid the date. A little play on words there. Coming up in Season 18 will be our second go at bringing a raid out of the Destiny content vault. This time it's going to be, well, Bungie, redacted. So,
right.
And it seems to me like we're not probably going to know until that day. That's the way they've kind of been playing things to the chest here lately. Probably, it seems like it's going to be that day.
Oh my gosh,
Or if they maybe hint at it in the eventually we'll start getting, I don't know. This is new. What they're doing right now is kind of new.
Well,
you remember this before this season, we didn't get any information, didn't get a trailer drop until the day,
like a couple days before.
No, there was the day the season dropped. It was that morning we got a trailer.
Dude, I thought we got
No,
shown
we
the
got.
cool skull armor beforehand.
They might.
I,
I think we saw it in a tease. Yeah, we saw it in like
so
leaks or something.
I know that there have been seasons where they don't renounce or do anything until the day of,
Mm-hmm.
which to me is weird because you want
Build
some
up.
sort of hype train pulling
Yep.
into the station.
100%.
With that, it's just like, oh, cool, that's nice. Instead of like a build up of like anticipation.
Mm-hmm.
The big anticipation everyone's looking forward to is the raid race and then Arc 3.0.
Yes.
We didn't know about the solar until like the most recent thing because everyone assumed it was going to be Arc. No, that man, I know they interviewed the team that won Vault of Glass, and they're like, "Oh, what did you guys do to prepare for Vault of Glass?" The two leaders of the clan are like, "We ran it a bunch of times." The two clan leaders, ran it back to back by themselves and finished every encounter by themselves.
There we go. Sorry.
And then they got their team in there, ran it a bunch of times because they dominated that actual raid. Maybe that's what they're trying to avoid. Like, oh, don't give time for the teams to go in and be like, oh, prepare. It's like, no, you just jump in there with everyone else.
Yeah.
It makes sense, but also that I feel like they're shooting themselves in the foot with that one. Again, there's no hype.
A little bit.
There's no build up.
A little bit. So, okay, here you go. Okay, so yeah, they actually say right here. It's my bad. So we're saving the reveal of which raid is coming for August 23rd. So 3 days before the raid.
Okay.
So August 23rd.
That's acceptable.
So that's the day of that's the new season. New season drops that day. So something tells me they drop the trailers or whatever for the season that morning. It'll probably have the raid reveal in that trailer, I would assume.
Sounds good.
So, totally hypothetical, but the raid date itself is August 26th. This is a big deal for people because that is on a Friday.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a big deal.
Yeah, and it's going live at 10 a.m. Pacific, so reset time on a Friday, August the 26th. Yeah. I know a lot of people, myself, not myself included, because I'm not partaking in it. But like I work Monday through Friday. I know a lot of people that work Monday through Friday. Sam's busiest work day is Friday.
Yeah.
And so
a lot of drunk people at the bar.
Right, and a lot of people, anybody that's a student. You're cutting out so much of your player population by doing this.
Oh, for sure.
So,
but I mean, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's strange. I'm wondering if there's maybe a method to their madness. Of course, a lot of people have assumed that they're doing this because the launch of Vault, the launch of VOW, they've been buggy. Right. I feel like DSC was actually pretty smooth compared to those.
It was really good.
It was really good compared to those. But Vault and VOW were both pretty buggy. And on a Saturday, they have basically the skeleton crew working. And so they're just not, they feel like they're short-staffed on the weekends. Now, anybody could say, they could, just, it's potentially 2 weekends out of the month or something because you only drop 2 raids per year now. Just have them do it. I don't know. I'm split on this, and I think I'm split because I'm not partaking in it. Like it doesn't affect me. So why do I need to worry about it?
Well, I'll let you finish, and then I have some thoughts.
Being a family man, I can say if I have to work a Saturday, I have to work a Saturday. That's whatever. Yeah. And I've done it. They say specifically right here, they said request off of work, hire a babysitter, but don't skip school. Please, your education is important. You're literally asking people to request a day off of work to play a video game. Let's be real about that. Right. This is what you're asking people to do.
Yeah.
That's strange to me.
So my take on this is it's twofold, right? So there's the side of the business side of it. If you have your team running, Monday through Friday, and you have a skeleton crew on the weekends just for maintenance, for sure, you don't want to double up your staff on the weekend in case something doesn't happen. If it doesn't happen, then you've doubled up your staff for nothing and you're losing money, which that's one end of the business side of it, not the other. Yeah. The other side of that is, yes, you are losing out on a great deal of your player base, and they've been seeing good numbers for these raid day ones. Deep Zone Crypt had a really big opening launch Probably one of the best numbers they've seen in a very long time. Following that, they had Vault of Glass. Vault of Glass was also an OG raid. Lots of people wanted to dip their toes back into it. Like, oh man, something from Destiny 1 in Destiny 2. Well, yeah, sign me up. That's great. And then the lackluster launch of Vow of the Discipled, it definitely it was lackluster in the sense where we had a lot of crashes and they ended up extending it by a day. And you had some teams that got snubbed from the top spot because of the delays. And I'm guessing they're wanting to avoid that moving forward. So I'm guessing this is going to be, with it being a reprised raid, they can definitely get away with having people come in on Fridays because it's not a huge launch. In a sense where, like, man, we don't know what raid it is, but if it's going to be King's Fall or Crota, two raids that people have already, if you've played Destiny 1 for any length of time, you're familiar with these raids, or at least you've heard of them. So some people, the people that are going to go for day one, have definitely done it. They don't need to alienate that group because they're already going to be there. Like, if your team is going to go for day one, you're going to call off work. That's just what happens. When you commit to a day one raid, you're committing to 24 hours. And I think that's the squad. They're like, okay, yeah, no, you guys can call off work. You can do your thing because most people do anyway. I think we're going to potentially see a shift for the next for Lightfall. I think we're going to see it back on a Saturday based on how good this one does or how the numbers come out of this next raid. I don't think it's a smart move for them to move it to Friday, just because if you're looking at overall numbers, when you sit down with investors, you have to say, oh, we had this many people play our new content. Great. Well, investors are like, oh, that was a substantial boost in revenue, just from like player activity and all these different things. If you're looking at those numbers specifically, it's going to be a huge drop off from playing on a Saturday to a Friday. Just statistically, that's what you're going to see. You are going to have your dedicated players that are going to be there no matter what. This year, I will not be doing this day one. I'm not taking off work for it. Just I have no desire to do this specific one. Maybe Lightfall, we'll see. It was a lot last time. So, yes, usual Bungie, one step forward, two steps backwards. Usually when you do that, though, you take a giant jump forward. And with Lightfall, if they cut out all our supers, maybe that'd be cool.
Interesting.
But so I guess my overall statement is I'm interested to see what happens next. From a person who enjoys doing those raids, if I was committed to day one, I would call off work.
Same.
This being said, I'm not doing it. I'm not calling off work. There's no ill feelings that way. And I ask you all, if you are upset about that, take it with a grain of salt. Were you going to do day one? Did you have a team that was committed to running 24 hours?
If you do day ones regularly, right? If you do them regularly, by all means, I understand your frustrations. I get it. It's like for Sam, like I also have to justify talking to my wife about taking the day off to play a video game. Like, that's a big one.
For Valve Discipled, like I made sure I had, not only did I have the day off, I had the day before off.
Yes.
Because I made sure that all of the house chores were done. I had frozen meals ready. Like I had pre-made meals for the wife. They were frozen.
You were on point.
I had a babysitter to come and watch my son. Like my parents came and they're like, oh, we got the baby, and they took him for the day and then brought him back. Like my wife was in total agreement with me doing this raid, and that is the only reason I felt comfortable blowing 24 hours on a video game that I didn't even get the thing I was going for. That being said, if you were already going for the raid, you've already made those arrangements ahead of time.
Most likely.
For people who are like, man, I wanted to try it, I guarantee you this. If you were going to LFG day one, I think it's like maybe 5% of the people that LFG day one actually finish or even get halfway through. I know the number is really small. There have been teams that have gone all the way LFG. That is the underdog story of the year. It does not happen very often. If you're encouraged by that, by all means, go for it. But don't get mad at Bungie for making an executive decision that benefits their people who don't have to crunch now to come in on a weekend. And yes, I understand. Everyone has to work a weekend one day or sometime. It's okay. You know what? Kudos to them for trying to keep some semblance of a normal schedule for their employees.
Yeah.
If you got hired on to work Monday through Friday, great. Boss comes to you, hey, champ, can you work Saturday? No. Sorry, I can't. Schedule that out next time, and then maybe sure. They're probably just testing the waters to see what they can do, see the numbers go up and down. We'll find out eventually. But initial knee-jerk reaction, this is fine to me. If I was really planning on going for the raid, again, I'd be calling off anyway.
So
as a safety precaution.
Urzen's in chat. What's up, Urz? He says he works Monday through Friday, so if I do the day one, it'll be Friday after work, for sure.
Right.
So I think we've covered that part of it we need to cover. Just a couple of expectations, being that this is a reprised raid, just like they did with Vault of Glass, so that everybody is aware.
Twice.
You have to beat it twice, yes. You have to beat contest mode initially. Once you beat contest mode, it unlocks something called challenge mode. What challenge mode is basically every encounter has its challenge that you do, like usually on a weekly rotation to get the extra drops. Only this time it is challenge mode for all encounters, and you don't have the opportunity to not complete the challenge and move on. You have to complete each challenge or your team wipes.
And also doesn't tell you what those challenges are.
Yes.
You go in 100% blind.
Yes, exactly.
And if your team messes up, it's an insta-wipe.
And if it's anything like Vault of Glass,
comes from.
If it's anything like Vault of Glass, the challenges are going to be, slightly different than they were. From.
But it's pretty on the nose. Like most of those challenges weren't that difficult, in the sense where like if I don't know, just like 10 steps extra. I mean, the Oracle phase was one thing, it makes sense. And any good team that's figuring out day one raids will probably pick that up pretty quickly. Again, it's if you're going in day one with an LFG, hats off to you if you make it, but I'm not seeing that happen. But yeah, that covers this bit.
Yeah, we're gonna move on.
It is a weird choice for them to not reveal the raid, but it makes sense if you're trying to like kind of hold that back for surprise factor.
They're doing something. They're doing something. They're playing it close to the chest.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. Maybe everyone's gonna be just polarized by the raid pick.
I want to throw this into the ether because everybody was really happy and really shocked and really just surprised whenever we finally got Savathun as an actual like enemy boss in the game, which was cool, right? Which was cool. Xivu Arath is still out there somewhere.
Correct.
Lightfall is coming.
Yeah,
that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. Urzen says that's only.
Go ahead.
He sorry. That's only to get the world's first, right? The emblem only clearing once. Yeah. There's.
You clear it twice.
You have to clear it twice in order to do that. No, to get the actual. The first team to complete both of those, yes, they get the raid belt. But in order, like, you still have to do both encounters to get the day one emblem.
Correct. You have to complete what is essentially required of the world's first team to get the emblem. Even if you're managed to get through one, you have to play it again, and you have to do challenge mode.
They have it right
That's
here.
That's why VOG wasn't going to work, yeah.
Right. They have it right here. Challenge mode and the Secret Triumph. The Secret Triumph is how you get the emblem. The Secret Triumph will only be available for the first 24 hours. So, here's the thing about that. They're locking the emblem behind a Triumph now, because it fixes the issue that they had with the emblems for Vow. I think a lot of people actually saw this coming. Everybody was wondering, there's so many emblems locked behind Triumphs. Why not now? This is the easiest fix, I think. So,
absolutely.
So moving on to, I think something that Urz probably appreciates. We're going to talk about the changes to skill-based
PvP changes,
and what's going on.
Oh, they're bringing that back.
So, I don't know what you're talking about. Bring them back.
Oh, boy.
Making matches starting in Season 18, we will be introducing some changes in how we play Matchmaker in the Crucible. This will be the first iteration that is part of a larger plan going through Season 19. Our World Systems teams are leading the charge on this transition and are here with a big info dump on what to expect. So, I'm not going to dwell too much because there's a lot of reading here. I'm just basically...
Give me the Cliff Notes.
I'm going to give you the Cliff Notes. they're bringing skill-based matchmaking to 6v6 control. Specifically control. They say that specifically. It's just coming to control. Okay. They say right here, we are starting by implementing loose SBMM to the control playlist at the start of Season 18. Loose SBMM is a wider starting skill similarity than survival and should result in matching with a wider variety of players, while also eliminating some of the frustrations we see in our current systems. Now, currently, we have connection-based matchmaking.
Connection-based, yeah.
Yes, it's all connection-based. So, however strong your connection is with your peer-to-peer connection, with people in your area, such and such, stuff like that, it judges.
The idea here is,
how you get how you get paired up. It's connection-based.
The idea here is
confusing.
Kids, you want to throttle that down so you don't have to fight streamers.
Well.
Because if your net is like landline, like the best that you can possibly get, Spectrum wireless, or like LAN connection, fiber optic, all that great stuff, you're going to be up against people who are just the sweat lords, or that one guy in Dubai who has like the best internet, or like it's just real shoddy that he can change on a switcher. Yeah, it could be great, but no, that's I don't know. Go ahead and do the whole spiel, and then I have something to say.
Yeah. They say expect loose SBMM to expand to other playlists in future seasons as we tune what we consider a high-quality match by gathering real data and feedback from you. So, basically, the issue that they're running into right now is there's a lot of players within the pool that, whenever they're on a team, ends up being a 90% win opportunity, most likely.
Wow.
Right? That's the chance, yes. And what they want to do is balance that to between 40 and 60%.
Gotcha.
Okay?
So
because naturally 50-50 is impossible.
Right.
That's impossible to meet. So between 40 to 60, I think that's fair. I think that's reasonable.
Yeah.
And what it means is, for people that are in the middle of the pool. Now, here, myself, we would consider ourselves above average, but I think because of our overall numbers, he and I were just looking at it the other day, our overall kill-death ratios since the beginning of Destiny are only 1.3 and 1.4 or something like that. Mm-hmm. Currently, they might be sitting closer to 2.1 or something, or 2.2.
Yeah.
But this came
track
from a
it
time,
all the way back.
Right, all the way back to the beginning of Destiny 2. So I feel like people like us will stay closer to the middle of the pack. And if that's the case, then people like he and I will be fine. Basically, what that means is, for people that aren't in the middle of the pack, people that are on either outside, whatever that is.
Right.
So if they're above average, yes. Or I say above average. If they have higher stats, yes, they're going to be paired with people with higher stats. They'll be less likely to be paired with people that have higher stats on their teams in order to, balance, bring it down, bring everything in line. The way it works right now, because of the connection based and peer-to-peer, a lot of times people that are really good, a lot of times, for whatever reason, end up getting paired on the same teams. You see this happen all the time.
Right. Better internet connections.
Better connections, exactly. Or worse connections.
Right.
Whichever. So, I'm cautiously optimistic about this. I know a lot of people that are very frustrated. If you've seen DFP, he was talking about this on Twitter. I've seen some others. True Vanguard dropped a video today talking about it, and I think he said pretty much the same thing I said, cautiously optimistic.
Right.
And there's, people that are above average, I think that there is a very real possibility of them, feeling like they're having to sweat it out every match. Feel like every control match, every 6v6 match is a trials game, So I hate that. I hope it doesn't come to that. I hope they can do this in a good manner. The thing that makes me as I said, cautiously optimistic is the term loose SBMM. It says wider starting skill similarity. So it's going to pull from a bigger pull in the middle, right? And then, of course, wherever you are, if you are on the lower end of the spectrum, then hopefully what that means is it's going to pair you on your team with somebody from the higher end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
There's a right and a wrong way to do this, and I'm really hoping they can balance it. But if history tells us anything, they're not really good at that. Go ahead.
So my initial knee-jerk reaction to all of this is casual players don't read the TWAB. Casual players do not do what we're doing and read through this stuff, talk about this stuff, watch content creators. My dad, I would consider a casual player. He plays Crucible to get his pinnacle, and then he's done. That's it. So I don't see the casual player being too upset by these changes. I'm sorry, casual PvP players. I would consider myself an above casual PvP player, because I'll play with you guys whenever, like, oh yeah, let's just Sam, come on in, let's go play. Okay, that's fine, yeah, I'll do it. I don't like PvP, but I'll go play with you guys because I want to play with you guys. Right. But someone like my dad, who only ever plays to get his pinnacles and he's done, that's fine. Myself, yeah, I get frustrated whenever I have to fight. It's like, gosh, it does. Sometimes it's like, oh, I'm always fighting trials match people in a normal Crucible. But that's because I'm playing with you guys, and the ELO score goes up. But as far as, like, yes, I can see for yourself and, like, for someone like Erzin, who you guys play PvP majority of the time. I probably venture to say 75% of your Destiny playtime is in PvP.
Yeah.
That could benefit two ways, like negatively and affect good. So anytime you feed an algorithm consistent data, you like for kill death ratio, you said at the beginning of Destiny 2 to now, those numbers are so far apart from each other because it monitored everything you've done from the beginning of Destiny 2 to the end of Destiny 2 currently.
Yep.
It has 5 years worth of data to look at versus somebody like, we'll go back to my dad, who just started playing Destiny as of about maybe 7 months ago. The data for that is right here. His win-loss ratio, kill death, all of that's contained right here, and their algorithm has to figure out where he would be placed in a finite amount of time that he's been playing. So it might throw him in the absolute deep end with the sweats. Could destroy a new player. Like, if they walked into a PvP match versus, like, the literal streaming gods, like, they just death, that's going to completely polarize them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you don't want for new players. And that's why I feel like there has to be like some kind of grace period. And without looking at the algorithm, you can't really tell. But yeah, for someone like you and Erzin, you've been feeding that algorithm this entire time. It makes sense. And they'll probably place you in a somewhere like, reasonable area. And they have more data to go with.
Yeah.
Someone like myself who only ever jumps in just to get my pinnacles, I'm going to be somewhere weird in that ratio too, because like my kill death ratio is high in some games and low in others, but I don't play enough to really balance it out. That's something that hopefully they're going to be looking at as well. And with the acquisition of Sony and them doubling their team size, I feel like we're setting up a bigger playground for the sandbox. Like think about it like this. So if you think about PvE is the sandbox and PvP is the playground outside it. So in the sandbox is over here, it's being, self-contained, boom, over there. We're now setting up like the gym for PvP. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It used to be just the 4 square spot on the concrete over there, but now you guys are getting like your own stadium. Like they're trying to actively make big changes to maybe bring in new players to come and play more PvP. They'll have the numbers to do it soon. Overall, I think this change is going to be I think again, we're going to go back to this whole future-proofing thing.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to set systems in place that they can then build the building blocks on top of. Like, lay that foundation. Like, from now on, it's going to be match-made through loose... what was the name?
Loose SBMM, yeah.
There it is. So if we're building the blocks off of that, they have to nail the foundation. So if they're going to implement it now, and then into next season after that, they have some decent time to iron out the kinks, and I
For sure.
appreciate that. Like, oh, we're going to look at the feedback, but it sounds like the community is kind of in an uproar. But again, you say people on Twitter, YouTube, these are content creators who play the game
A lot
a
of them. A
lot,
lot of them.
not the casual player. And again, Bungie then has to now, wade through all of the media that their content creators are making to kind of find like who is a nice, stable player who, is going to give some good feedback. Because you're going to get people that are going to scream on Twitter like, "Oh, I hate this."
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I do want to give you my one concern.
go for it.
One concern, and I haven't really seen anybody mention this yet, and I'm not really sure why, because I think this is actually kind of a big deal. Whenever you're talking about stepping away from connection-based matchmaking and going into skill-based matchmaking, what does that mean for the connections?
Right.
I haven't seen anybody talk about that.
No, because everyone's focused on the new shiny thing that's in the room.
Well, it's the uproar. That's my concern. My concern is, what does this mean for connections? Because while of course, at the end of the day, they are trying to up the player pool, the population. Of course, that's what they want to do.
For sure,
that's what they want to do. I agree with you. You nailed it. I think whenever you said, the PvP casuals, they're not looking at this info. They're not, season 18's not going to drop and they suddenly are like, oh, hey, I'm going to go play PvP more. If it's a little bit easier for them, they might play a few more games per season, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. And I think that's a big ask, because these are already people that play less and less every season. I don't think they're going to play more just because you implement this change. So with the connection changes, that I do worry, about connection stability. We have problems with people that have connection issues, especially over on console. But I feel like that's going to become a lot more prevalent.
Yeah. There's always going to be problems no matter what they decide to do. And again, it kind of goes back to the building blocks. If you can build more effectively on one or the other moving forward, like if we've talked about this a ton, and I keep using the word future proofing, with Sony's acquisition and them continuously building on Destiny. If you're going to future proof something, you want to make sure that you're building it properly. When Destiny 2 first came out, we've talked about this before, Activision wouldn't let them update the engine. Mm-hmm. Nothing was where they wanted it to be, and they kind of suffered for it. And then, Forsaken came out, and they were able to start implementing new high-resolution HD textures with the better planets, and then they were able to implement more things towards that. Sunsetting was supposed to be a way of fixing the rest of the game, getting rid of planets that needed updating, fixing them for the new engine, and then reinstalling them. That is what they were doing. They were rebuilding the things that were in the game they couldn't fix with a simple patch. You have to remove it entirely, rebuild it, and put it back in place. For PvP, it's a different story. If you want to build something continuously and continue to build upon it, you need to have a strong foundation. And if connection base will only take you so far, looking into the future, like this might work for another year or so, but if we continue to add on to it, how long before it crumbles?
Yeah.
Versus this new method of skill-based matchmaking, how long can we build on this? We can probably build on this way longer than just connection, because connection is it. That's it. Connection is based on connection. As to where skill-based matchmaking is a continuously fed algorithm. You winners, you guys have a lot of algorithm that you have fed in.
Yeah.
You guys will now have a very pinpointed spot of where you're supposed to be. The longer you play, the more you play, you're going to find your spot where it's where you're supposed to be. I think the scariest thing is always the kickoff. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what your first 10 matches are going to look like, but your next 100 matches are going to look better than your first 10 or your first 50. It's the more you feed it, the better it's going to be. That's not good. That's not to say that they might mess this up.
Yeah.
But for the longevity of the game that they are shooting for, the way they talk about the game, this is its best chance at keeping PvP alive.
Yeah.
That's my personal take on it. But again, you're not going to see standard players just be like, oh, I'm going to play more now. They don't care. The people that care would be the ones who spend the majority of their times in. And that's just my take on it. But like, I feel like if you feed something more to kind of pinpoint your spot, you're going to find yourself in a better position. It just takes time.
Yeah. I agree with you. And you know, as I said, opening with that, you know, cautiously optimistic. We'll see.
Right.
Dead on about the kickoff. That's the scary part. You know, what's this going to look like upon that initial kickoff? It's just going to be one of those things where I have to give my thoughts on it now and then give my opinion about it after it happens. And
for sure,
I'm going to probably open or close that by saying I will definitely be giving my thoughts on it. It'll probably be, let's say, probably give it, realistically, probably give it a month. Probably give it 3 to 4 weeks of playing with skill-based matchmaking to kind of to really be able to get my thoughts on it, and then I'll kind of release my opinion.
So do this. So for everyone who's watching now, or everyone who's listening now, could be a couple weeks away. Legend, if you go ahead and sit down, and when the new stuff comes out, mark how many games you play. Mark your first 10, and then sit down, and before you play 10 anymore, think about, okay, how was this? Was it good? Was it bad? I'll give you like a list of questions, and we can post in the Discord.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so here's the 10 things. Matchmaking. Was it good? Yes or no? Did you win? Yes or no? Was there a full enemy stack? Yes or no? Just those kinds of things. And once you've done those couple things, do the next 50.
Yeah.
The next 100. And then you do that for the full month, and then you come back with that data for us, and you let us know, how is that? Because you went from 10 to 50 to 20, or 10 to 25 to 50, and so on. Like, base all of that off of that 1 month of playtime, and I guarantee we're probably going to see some interesting math come out of that.
Yeah, and I'll track everything using the Tracker Network website for Destiny.
There we go.
Where they have.
But that's something we can.
Stats.
I would like to see we throw in the Discord so everybody in our community can see that as well, because that would be an interesting take on that.
Real quick before we close, since that's the TWAB, y'all, that's the big information. There's some patch notes, and the patch notes are meh. The patch this week was nothing
crazy.
Nothing crazy. I mean, they fixed the dream workability on the new weapons. So that was one of the big ones there. Big ones. The other day I started running a poll on Twitter, and mind you, I really would appreciate it if at some point Bungie would actually make use of the poll platforms on social media, through all social medias, right?
Right.
You know, not just Twitter or anything like that, because I know there's a lot of people that aren't very active on Twitter. I get that, but I mean specifically like to really actually get the opinions of people that aren't just the streamers, right?
So I have something for that, but
you can go ahead. You can go ahead. I'm looking for that.
So there's a number of cases where online polls are the worst thing ever. If you haven't seen, there's a YouTuber named Internet Historian. I definitely go check him out. He's hilarious. But he did a video on internet polls and why they're the worst thing ever. Yes. So during the height of Justin Bieber's Bieber Fever thing, they were like, hey, where should Bieber go next to have a concert? Let's do an online poll. And so the community of 4chan got together and like, what would be the most ridiculous place? They sent him to North Korea.
Oh.
But he didn't go.
Well, of course you don't go.
No, that's just it. Like they're like, oh yeah, no, we'll send him to North Korea. So everyone in 4chan and all these different locations, like they spammed, and it was hilarious. He didn't go.
Yeah.
The next person was, I forget the guy. What is his name? Basically, he partnered with Walmart, and they said, hey, you know, we're going to send so-and-so to a Walmart. But there's a caveat. It has to be somewhere in the United States. Brilliant. We'll get past the internet trolls. One of his songs, like, oh, take a picture with a Kodak, or take a picture of me with a Kodak. And so 4chan's like, okay. They sent him to the Walmart in Kodak, Alaska.
Oh my God.
And he actually went.
That's fair.
I say all this to say there are ways of manipulating online polls. Destiny, I don't think, polls an audience big enough to actually have trolls do that, but I understand why they are not reliable sources of at least good feedback. Actually, I would encourage you to check your email. I actually just got another survey last week asking about stuff for Witch Queen. I've already done a survey for Witch Queen once before, but this was definitely more in depth. It was asking about specifically weapon crafting, the Vow of the Disciple raid, just really in-depth stuff. I gave honest feedback, and I've talked about some of my feelings about towards some of the more recent content. But that would be something that I would like to see them do. Send it out to people with high play times. Send it out to just anybody who's, you know, willing to sit down and look at an email. Post it in the TWAB, like, hey, just so you guys know, check your email. We're doing surveys. Or maybe that's something they don't want to advertise out loud, but, you know, that's a good way of doing it instead of posting about it on, like, their socials to get troll responses.
Right.
Actually giving genuine feedback is a little different. But that's also a mass email they gotta, you know, do out and send out. But that would be my take on it. I like the idea of online polls, but at the same time they can really be rigged.
No, I hear you. The poll that I released was basically asking people about like exotic armor and stuff like that, specifically in regards to like PvP. Should particular exotic armors be locked out of PvP, yes or no? Or
yes.
Or, hear me out, should exotic armors have multi-functions? And
yes,
it's interesting. The poll, it's actually, for what it is, being that I've only got a couple hundred followers on Twitter, and it's still going for another like 2 or 3 days, but 14 people have answered so far. A lot of people said lock them out, which is hilarious. Yeah. But then there's also more people have actually said yes, separate functions would be great. So
I feel like, again, that comes back to like it has to be the world building team and the PvP team have to sit down together and be like, what can we do with these exotics? Easier right off the bat, just scrap all of them. I understand. Listen, Destiny 2 has been built on the backs of really cool abilities, being able to have outlandish weapons, and just general brokenness when it comes to PvP combat.
Yeah.
It's been a staple for a long time. However, Destiny PvP can be very good. I don't like when people cry about stuff in PvP and it gets nerfed for PvE.
Exactly.
Freaking Geomags got ruined for PvE because people wouldn't stop complaining about PvP. Was it broken? Oh, absolutely it was broken. And if you had a fast enough connection, like to your, like, you know, if you had a PS5 or the PS5, if you had a PS5 or a PC, you could swap the boots out
really
for the
quick.
last little bit, run, charge your super, and then boom, you're done. That's broken. That was an issue that needed to be fixed. Don't take it out on us PvE players who needed something. Like, oh no, one of my big damaging supers. No. Here's the thing. Have you tried Tickle Fingers in a Nightfall or, you know, a GM? It doesn't work. Have you tried as a Warlock going into a GM with random players and like, guys, I want to run damage? You get kicked. If you can't pull DPS weight, you're on well. That's all it is. People get upset if Warlocks try to subclass anything else. Geomags and Kamehameha was the way to go.
Yeah.
That was the other acceptable thing for people who, like, I want to be a Warlock, but damage. You can do that. You don't have to run support. We have, you know, there's other ways around it. Anyway, that's a hard dive. I'm upset about that.
I hear you.
But in the same way they ruined Stompies for Hunters.
Well,
Stompies are useless.
The other big one right now that everyone's talking about is Omni Oculus.
Right.
because it's destroying PvP.
Right.
If somebody on my trials team asks me to run it, I'll put it on.
Right.
But that's very specific
But
terms, and yeah,
and there's always going to be something. There, it doesn't matter, regardless of how you balance your game. You're always going to have one or two things that shine above the rest, and if you take that away, people are going to find new things.
oh yeah,
If you want to start fresh, start from the bottom. If Lightfall happens and we actually lose our supers or light abilities, fantastic. Keep them out of Crucible. They said at the beginning of this year they wanted to focus more on the gunplay. That has not happened. We have had the most outlandish abilities and like perk combinations come out of weapons and gun combos. It's disgustingly good.
dude.
That being said, go ahead.
I can activate my hunter dodge and get radiant and get an automatic weapon damage boost just for dodging. Or
I can air dodge and do the same thing.
Or you can do the same thing by either air dodging, or can't you become radiant by activating your class ability?
Yeah.
You can do that. So imagine pairing that with already a damage enhancing rift.
Mm-hmm. There is so much utility in our abilities for PvP that people just sleep on. That if they genuinely want to focus on gun game, get rid of her supers. Take away everything. It doesn't matter what class you are walking in. It matters about the guns. With gun customization and the forge getting better over time because you're adding more and more to the loot pool, that incentivizes you to go out, find all the guns, build meta weapons, come back, and then it's about the gunplay.
Yeah.
You want to introduce grenades? Sure. Everyone take a box of grenades. You get a standard grenade. It goes boom. That's it. Nothing else. Oh, you want to have your jump abilities back? Guess what? No. Little hops. That's it. That's going to change maps. That's going to change a lot of stuff. But you know what? If they want to, again, back to the whole thing, you want to build on something, you go start with a good foundation, and then you work your way up.
Yeah.
Start adding things in slowly. They have been doing a better job about nerfing stuff for PvE versus stuff for PvP. Yep. Most times it's PvP that gets nerfed.
Right.
Very rarely does stuff get nerfed for PvE, but sometimes it happens. All that being said, we're about an hour and a half into this.
Yes, sir. Call this one a wrap.
There's a lot they can be doing. There's lots I'm expecting to see in the next couple of patches, and honestly, I'm very excited for the next season.
I will say
I want to see where the story is going, and I want to see what Arc 3.0 looks like.
Right. That's to me. I'm actually pretty excited. I will say. I think for the last 2 seasons, they have pretty well killed it with the seasonal weapons. They've killed it.
Sure.
I love the last seasons and this season's especially, but I think they've done a really good job, so I'm excited for next season's weapons, of course, next season's story, of course, because this season was the best seasonal really story we've had in a hot minute. Super stoked for that. And of course we are 3 weeks, is that right? 23rd. New season's on the 23rd. So we have 3 more weeks. We reset tomorrow, then next week and the week after, and then followed by that. So I would expect some big things from the next 3 TWABs. Start giving us some information. One of them will be focused on the ARC stuff.
Wait.
Yeah, same.
Wait.
So, my name is Xcalion, and
my name is Batsam. Thank you for watching and joining us for the Speaker Podcast number 20. We'll see you back next week at our regularly scheduled time of 6 o'clock on a Saturday? Yeah, 6 o'clock on a Saturday. Till then, Guardians, have a great day.